In a small, dusty village at the edge of nowhere lived a boy named Tariq. His clothes were worn, his shoes barely held together, and his pockets were always empty. Empty of money, empty of dreams, and sometimes even empty of hope. Every single morning, before the sun even thought about rising, Tariq would walk the long, rough path to the river to fetch water for his family. By the time he reached the village school, the other children were already finishing their breakfast, their laughter echoing from behind the gates. Tariq would often stand just outside, listening, wishing he could be one of them, wishing he could join in. One day, a kind teacher named Ms. Amina noticed Tariq sitting all by himself under a large banyan tree. He wasn't just sitting there, he was focused, scribbling something in the dirt with a small stick. She walked over, her curiosity piqued. "What are you writing, Tariq?" she asked gently. His eyes, which were usually downcast, suddenly lit up. He looked at her and said, "Stories, because my pockets are empty, but my head is full." A warm smile spread across Ms. Amina's face. In that moment, she saw something in him that everyone else had overlooked. She saw a spark, a brilliant flicker of potential just waiting for a chance to ignite. The very next day, she brought him a worn-out notebook and an old, stubby pencil. "Fill this with your stories," she told him, placing them in his hands. "And I'll help you read them to the class." That single act of kindness changed Tariq's world forever. Every afternoon, after finishing his chores, he would sit down and write. He poured his heart onto the pages, crafting stories of brave heroes who conquered giants, daring explorers who sailed across uncharted seas, and brilliant inventors who built incredible worlds no one had ever imagined. With each story he wrote, his confidence grew. He started to speak up in class, at first shyly, his voice barely a whisper. But soon, his words became bolder, more passionate. The other students started to notice. They began to gather around his desk, eager to hear the next chapter of his latest adventure. His stories were magic, and everyone wanted to be a part of it. Months passed, and the school announced its annual talent day. Tariq, encouraged by Ms. Amina, signed up. When his name was called, he walked onto the small, makeshift stage, the well-used notebook trembling in his hands. The room fell silent. He took a deep breath and began to tell one of his favorite stories, a story about a poor boy with empty pockets who dreamed of one day touching the stars. He spoke with such emotion, such raw honesty, that the entire room was captivated. By the time he finished his final sentence, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Then, the silence was shattered by a wave of applause that washed over him, filling the entire hall. That day, Tariq won first place, not because he had money or fancy things, but because he had heart and he had a story to tell. A kind guest who was in the audience that day was so moved that he offered to buy Tariq's notebook. He wanted to help publish his stories so that children everywhere could read them. Slowly but surely, Tariq's pockets began to fill not just with coins, but with something far more valuable: opportunity. Years later, Tariq, now a well-known and beloved author, returned to his village. He stood before the very same river path and the dusty school gates where he once stood as a lonely boy. He looked at the group of young children gathered before him, children with dreams still waiting to begin, and he shared his most important story of all. "Empty pockets are nothing," he said, his voice full of warmth and conviction. "Dreams are everything, and remember this: where there is a dream, there is always a way." Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that touches the heart.